National Coalition of 100 Black Women's West Palm Beach chapter, Community Health Education Talks. We would like to take the opportunity with this program to highlight health issues in our community.
Good evening. Welcome to the December Health Spot. My name is Charlotte Leonard, and I am a member of the National Coalition of 100 Black Women. We are a volunteer, women-led organization that advocates on behalf of women and girls in our community. We advocate in the areas of leadership, mentorship, advocacy, and health. I serve as the co-chair for both the Health Committee and the Health Spot, and my co-chair is Mrs. Sabrina Cooper. The Health Spot was created as a platform in which to educate our community on health issues that impact women and girls. Today's program will provide education on health strategies that will encourage better nutrition and fitness in our families, thereby reducing childhood and family obesity in our culture. So I'd like to start tonight by asking our guests to introduce themselves before we start the program. Our first guest and speaker for this evening is Jill Goldblatt Jordan. If you can please introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jill Goldblatt Jordan. I'm a registered and licensed dietitian. I have a master's of science with a concentration in dietetics and nutrition. I've been working in the clinical field now for 13 years. I have taught on the university level. I've taught Introduction to Nutrition and Nutrition and Aging, and I currently am working in my own private practice, Boca Dietitian, and it's a real pleasure to be with everyone tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Jill. And Dr. Karina, you can introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. Karina Taylor. I am a chiropractic physician and co-owner at Renewed Wellness Integrative Medical Center. I am very passionate about being healthy from the inside out, starting with what we put in our mouth all the way to keeping our body moving progressively. My phrase is that if you don't use it, you will lose it. So we have to make sure that we continue this momentum all the way throughout life. But that is one thing I'm very passionate about.
Well, thank you both for being here this evening. The National Coalition of 100 Black Women has collaborated with the American Heart Association. And so this program, Healthy for Life, is an initiative through the American Heart Association. So we're going to go ahead and jump in this evening, and we're going to start out with some nutrition strategies by Jill. So I'm going to pass the mic, Jill, to you and have you share with us how we can improve our nutrition and our health for life.
Thank you so much. So this evening, I'm going to be reviewing information and tips about nutrition for the entire family, kids, adults, and seniors. And we're going to start with kids because, as us moms know, they never like to wait and they always go first. So my first tip for children is never praise or punish when it comes to eating. Avoid scolding your child for not cleaning their plate or rewarding a good grade with ice cream. And this is because many of the eating habits we have as adults were created when we were kids. And building on the finish our plate example, in adulthood, we might eat past the point of being satiated. We might eat past the point of being full. And that's because we were conditioned to clean our plate. Additionally, if we were rewarded with food when we were young, we may use food and eating as a coping mechanism when we don't feel that great or when we do something great. And having that food and emotion be connected can not only lead to additional calories, but it could possibly lead to an unhealthy relationship with food. Tip number 2 is a full child is a happy child. We all know a hungry child, especially at school, may have problems with attention, behavior, concentration, and we also know that breakfast is the most important meal of the day. However, that adage falls short, doesn't tell the full story. What I mean by that is, when we have a meal of just carbohydrates, our blood sugar rises and then it falls. When you have that blood sugar fall, you're going to get feelings of hunger. So a breakfast of just carbohydrates, such as just waffles, or just pancakes is going to lead to hunger sooner. However, the opposite is true. There are items that will help keep us fuller longer, and those are fiber, fat, and protein. So using that knowledge, a better breakfast would be like a veggie omelet. The eggs are going to be our protein, the olive oil we cook it in is going to be our fat, the vegetables, which could be any vegetables, but mushrooms, broccoli, pepper, any of those is going to be our fiber, and a side of toast for our carbohydrate, which gives us energy, is a welcomed addition to the plate.
Well, that's a lot of healthy eating.
Yeah.
So how do we, or what snacks would you recommend that a mom could use to give their kids, both at home and to take to school maybe?
So preparation, like a lot of things in life, is key on this one. When our kids are hungry, they don't tell us, Mom, I'm going to be hungry in about 30 minutes or 45. Give us that heads up. When kids are hungry, they are hungry now. So usually the snacks that are available right now win. That could be cookies, baked goods, chips. They're really good to go. So what I always tell people is make your healthy snacks just as easy and as accessible as your unhealthy snacks. Have a prep day. That looks like maybe 1 or 2 days a week, you're cutting up peppers of all colors, cucumbers, carrots, celery, which can be quickly eaten with a hummus or a salad dressing. Have fruit on hand. Fruit as is, real quick, real healthy. Have turkey or cheese slices on hand, in addition to yogurt. And the best part is in the morning when we have that rush where we're trying to get to school and we're trying to get to work and we have to pack a snack and there's no time, the healthy snacks you pre-prepared, that pepper and cucumber, throw in a bag, you're out the door. That piece of apple, that whole apple, throw in a bag, you're out the door. And the last tip I have for kids is lead by example. The days of making 4 different dinners for 4 members of our family are over. We all know that the best way, the best way to encourage our children to eat healthy is to do it ourselves. Often, our weight and our food choices are mostly not determined by genetics, and so they're not out of our control. As being a part of the same family, we share the same kitchen table, the same refrigerator, pantry. We go to the restaurants together. We have the same experience. So most of the time, any similarities we see in either food choices or weight are due to shared experiences rather than uncontrolled genetics. Now, this is great because we now have the power to determine how we eat. We now have the power to determine if we want to lose weight. It's really up to us and not predetermined at all. I'm going to move on to adults now.
Because I was going to say, now, how do we get the adults to do that? That was great for what we do for our kids. Now, how do we practice those good eating habits?
So one of the things I'm going to get into is how to plan a plate and do those things. But one of the places I always like to start with adults is weight. And that's because it's central when it comes to health. According to data from the National Health and Nutrition Examination Survey, more than 2/3 of adults are overweight or obese. And that's significant because the incidence of coronary heart disease rises as we are overweight or obese. Additionally, sustaining a healthy weight not only reduces your chances of heart disease, but it also plays a crucial role in lowering high blood pressure and cholesterol. So, too often, I think one of the things I'd like to say is when we try to eat healthy, we focus on almost so much that it gets overwhelming. I've had clients come to me and tell me that they calculate every macro and micronutrient, they weigh things, they measure things, they obsess over things. And the reason why that doesn't work is because we eat multiple times a day, every day. And if something is that annoying, we're just not going to do it. We don't have the time or the patience. So for that reason and others, I like to use the plate method. Now, the plate method is an easy way to plan healthy meals for you and for your family. And this is the way that it works. Half of your plate is non-starchy vegetables. So that's almost all vegetables except for corn, peas, and potato. 1/4 of your plate is lean protein like fish or chicken. And the last 1/4 of your plate is starch, rice, pasta, potato, peas, corn. So when you, and add a dairy and a fruit, and that's it. That's the plate method. You're done. So when you look at this plate, most of the real estate is taken up by non-starchy vegetables, which are naturally low in calories, naturally low in sodium, naturally low in fat. So it's sort of thoughtless eating. They're also really rich in vitamins and nutrients, so they're considered nutritionally dense. And by limiting the starch, which again gives us energy, so carbohydrates are not bad, they are good for us. The problem is sometimes we eat too much of it. By limiting it to a quarter of our plate, we can't go overboard. It's thoughtless eating. All the good stuff, none on the unnecessary math, which I'm a big fan of. But one thing I'd like to say is, because I am really pushing vegetables here, and I know how expensive trips to the store are. I know when I go to the store, my food bill is a lot higher now than it's ever been, and I'm buying the exact same things. So I want to share some tips on how we can have a better experience when it comes to produce, how to bring down those costs. I always like to start my shop at Aldi. I find that supermarket always has the best prices. And before I go, I always check the circular. I sometimes plan what we're going to eat based on what's on sale in the circular that week. So for example, Aldi this week has a sale on spaghetti squash for 89 cents a pound, for anyone who's interested. I also really like to go to Walmart and Costco. I find that to be cost effective. The other way you can get cheaper produce is to know that frozen is just as great as fresh. Frozen vegetables are harvested and then frozen, so locking in all the great nutritional value. It's a great option for you and your family. It's usually a cheaper option, and of course it has a much longer shelf life, which makes it a lot more budget friendly. The only thing I want to caution against is canned vegetables, and I'll get into a little bit more why later, but frozen is a great option. And for those who want fresh, one recommendation I have is to go to localharvest.org, select CSA, which stands for Community Supported Agriculture, and it'll give you a list of local farms. I've done this in the past. I got a box of about 10 vegetables, nice size, and it cost about $10. So pretty fair.
That's a lot of good information. So besides weight, what other indications should we be focused on?
Blood pressure. And that's because about 1/3 of adults in this country have high blood pressure. And the Mayo Clinic notes a normal blood pressure is 120/80 or less. And high blood pressure or hypertension can lead to less elastic vessels, decreasing the flow of oxygen, decreasing the blood flow and oxygen. So it increases your chance of heart attack and stroke and heart disease. But there are many things that you can do to help with your blood pressure. And one of them is to watch the sodium in your diet. The American Heart Association recommends no more than 2,300 milligrams of sodium a day, with an ideal limit of 1,500 milligrams. So check with your doctor. But on average, Americans eat more than 3,400 milligrams of sodium a day, way more than what's recommended. So what to do? Number one is we need to know where salt lives, so it doesn't sneak up on us or sneak up on our plate. And many times my clients will tell me they don't even have a salt shaker in their home anymore, so sodium is not a problem for them. But that's not true, because a lot of times sodium lives in foods without us even to add a shake. So you always want to check the nutrition facts. What I mean by that is, the other day I was preparing a can of soup. Now to me, one can of soup is one serving. So I looked at the sodium line, 500 milligrams. Okay. But you can't just look at the sodium line. You also have to look at the serving size line, because one can of soup actually has 2.5 servings in it. So one can of soup, well, you have to take their 500 milligrams, times it by 2.5, you get 1,250 milligrams of sodium, way more than I had anticipated. So you need to look at the serving size and the sodium line. Also, be wary of traditionally high sodium items like soups, tomato sauces, tomato juices, breadcrumbs, certain cheeses, hot dogs, cold cuts, and of course, fast foods.
all the stuff that my husband loves. So, no. So I know we have to wrap up. So I don't want to leave out our seniors, but is there a tip or a strategy that you could share quickly about how we can help our seniors improve their nutritional or eating habits? And also at the end, please share with us, how do we get in touch with you in case we need to get some more guidance after this podcast?
So real quickly, two things. Number one, you want to concentrate on perfect protein. Protein is not singular. It's made up of 20 different amino acids. So we can create 11 out of the 20 amino acids, but we have to eat the other 9. And the reason why that's important is because amino acids are used to create antibodies, hemoglobin, which carries oxygen through the body, and to help pressure wounds, which is crucial and very important in the geriatric population. So perfect proteins come from animals, chicken, fish, eggs, dairy. It also comes from soy and quinoa, but usually it's animal proteins. Seniors who don't cook can get a rotisserie chicken at the market, eggs in an easy to pour container, or a lot of different brands make grilled chicken strips that can be served cold over a salad or heated up in the microwave. And for seniors that kind of don't eat as much, their appetite has gone down, we really want them to have animal protein because we want them to make the most of the real estate on their plate. And lastly, during this time of year, we often have family and friends over for holiday meals, which is great. It provides increased socialization and increased access to all the wonderful holiday meals. So what I would encourage is everyone keep that tradition throughout the year. It doesn't have to be as big as the holidays, but have a senior loved one over, especially one that lives alone, once a week for a meal. That increased socialization is really going to increase their appetite and have them increase their nutrition. Additionally, you can go food shopping for a neighbor who's a senior when you do your shop, or you can put them in touch with resources that will help them, such as Meals on Wheels palmbeaches.org, which is a website that can connect you or a loved one with local options for meal delivery. And that's about it. I know it could be overwhelming, but a lot of the information is you do one thing right, you check many boxes. The foods that will help with your weight are also the foods that will help with high blood pressure and cholesterol.
Awesome.
Yeah. So again, I'm Jill Goldblatt Jordan, registered and licensed dietitian, and you can find me at bocadietitian.com.
All right. Thank you. That was very helpful. It was right in line with all the things that the American Heart Association is encouraging for Healthy for Life. So thank you, Jill, for that. So now we're going to figure out what are those fitness strategies, Dr. Karina, that we should be adding to this nutrition and healthy lifestyle that we're changing, or at least aiming to achieve over this next year. And again, throughout our life.
Yes, so first and foremost, thank you again for having me. Charlotte, one thing I want to touch on before we even jump into that is why we should exercise. Most of the time when we think of exercise, a lot of people automatically think, oh, I don't have any time to go to the gym. I don't have time to work out 7 days out of the week. And you're making it very difficult when it can actually be simplified. One of the important issues regarding exercise is that we're not moving our bodies enough. A lot of us tend to sit around because we're tired, but to increase our mood, increase our energy levels, our heart strength, which is very important regarding circulation, getting our lung function up, is embodying all of those types of movements, specifically at an early age with children. Children tend to emulate every single thing we do, from the way we dress, the way we talk, what we put in our mouths, and even if we exercise, believe it or not. So if we can target our children while they are at a young age to be motivated to stay active at least 3 times out of the week, get them involved in sporting activities. For those children who may not be athletic, children love to dance. If you put on your child's playlist, their favorite playlist, and they have that going for like 15 minutes, their heart rate is going to be up. They're dancing through all those songs. That is a simple form of exercise for those children at home, when they can actually be learning at the same time for good cognitive response, as well as making sure their memory is sharp, because they need to know all those dance moves, right? Now, as far as adults, I always say start with what your body is responding to. Everybody's not meant to go to a gym, do high impact activities. For those, they can do a brisk walk to get their heart rate up. And what I mean when I say brisk walk is something close to a power walk that will accelerate that heart rate. And for those who don't want to walk, you can rollerblade, you can bike, you can actually do yoga for more of a mental exercise. That's a form of flexibility and strength for the body. It still incorporates some form of movement and motion. And it also stimulates our brain function, which is very, very important in regarding circulation and mental health. Mental health is something that is very important from our youth all the way up to the geriatric population, especially now, even after COVID. We have to stimulate our mental health in order to boost our overall immune system, believe it or not. So exercise plays a very big role regarding that.
So tell us a little bit about Renewed Wellness, and how do you help some of the more senior population that are finding it hard to move their bodies? What are some of the things that you can do to help us to become more flexible, or to start to move our bodies a little more? What are some things that you can do for us, or that we can do ourselves at home?
So one thing that Renewed Wellness can do for the community, we like to meet people where they are. Like I said, everybody's not here at the top tier athlete, and everybody may be medium or even like a very mild start as far as exercise. But the first thing that we do is when we meet people where they are, our goal overall when we do see people is let's get them out of the pain. It's baby steps. We get you out of the pain. We start with some small functional exercises to increase the motion throughout the spine, the knees, the joints. That is where the adjustments come into play. Now, regarding the adjustments of the spine, everybody has a different form of adjustment. What they have on TikTok and social media now is a little scary. I would be scared myself. So it's all about educating and meeting the patient where they are as far as stimulating their spine, because the spine was meant to move. Motion is the best form of medicine for your joints. If you do not move these joints, your joints will become stiff. Oftentimes people say, I have arthritis in the joint, and they blame it on age. But to be quite honest, is they may not even have arthritis in the joint. Your joints aren't just necessarily used to motion and movement. So once you slowly but surely start that motion and movement, we can accelerate some of the exercise programs that we have for our patients in order to establish a healthy core for their spine, healthy knees, healthy legs, momentum throughout the day. So that way they can start day by day.
Awesome. So can you just share with us, how can we reach you, and where can they find you if they'd like to come and start getting some treatments for these stiff joints that they haven't been moving?
Yes, so you can find us at www.renewedwellness.net. Our number is 561-619-8160. And we would love to have you in the office and educate you. It is all about being healthy from the inside out. I always say, look at your health as a full course meal. It's overwhelming, but if you digest it slowly in bite-sized pieces, it's more tolerable. So again, you have to meet people where they are and go from there, because it can be overwhelming. But again, if you hone in on what the issue actually is and what your pain is coming from, or where your eating habits may be, we can start small and grow from there. Small little habits make a big difference.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to thank both of you ladies for joining us this evening.
Jill Goblat Jordan, our dietitian from Boca Dietitian, thank you. And
Thank you
Dr.
so much.
Karina Taylor, thank you. I think tonight we provided our community with health strategies that will help to encourage better nutrition and fitness, and hopefully change the relationship that our families have with food and around fitness. So again, I'd like to wish everyone a happy Hanukkah, a Merry Christmas, happy Kwanzaa, and all the other holidays that will be coming very shortly to all of us. So thank you again. We appreciate you joining us tonight, and we look forward to you joining us next month for our next Health Spot. Thank you and have a great evening.